Kento Momota's been playing professional badminton for about a year and a half now, since he came back from a serious injury from an accident back in 2020. I mean, since returning, he's played in multiple World Tour tournaments, and I think now it's a good time to assess how Kento Momota is playing. We all know Kento Momota was the best player in the world for multiple years and is a two-time world champion. But since his return though, we haven't seen the previous Momota, and at times he looks like he's in a shadow of his former self. So what's currently going wrong for Kento Momota? I just want to say I'm not discrediting Momota at all. The fact that he's even come back from a serious accident and playing at the level that he's playing at is amazing. Just a quick reminder to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's first look at why Kento Momota was so good back in 2018. His style was always so consistent, and he was able to wear his opponents down to the end of the game where they just couldn't continue and keep up to the same level that Momota was at. But now physically, he just can't seem to keep up at the same level that he used to be at, and against the opponents he's up against now. But now the tables have almost reversed, and Momota is struggling later on in games, and even getting worn down by his opponents, and just not being quick enough to be able to get to the shots later on in the game, where he just looks physically tired. Momota was usually always the one that was always in the rally, making his opponents make the mistakes, and just always getting the shuttlecock back. And his accuracy was also incredibly good, where he was just able to place his smashes and slices into the corners. And then even when they did get a shot back like that, he was so quick at getting to the net and killing off the next point. It just made it so difficult for his opponents to win points, and that's what made him so good back in like 2018, 2019. Recently, Momota was knocked out in the Indonesian Open in the first round to Rasmus Gemke. And after this match, he said, "I'm disappointed because I made so many mistakes." He said, "I will do more to practice to get better results in the next tournaments." And Rasmus Gemke has never beaten Kento Momota before this tournament either, so this was the first time Kento Momota has lost to him. And I can imagine that being quite disheartening for him. Obviously, he's trying to get back to the level that he was before, and he's losing against players that he used to be able to beat. Not only has Momota never lost to him before this match, but Momota looked like he actually deserved to lose the match too, especially in that last set. It looked like Momota just ran out of steam. Gemke was running much further than him and being much more aggressive, taking the shuttlecock earlier and just playing a lot more smashes and being more aggressive. And that's the thing with Kento Momota. He's just not aggressive enough, in my opinion. I just think there's times where he could be playing a lot more aggressive smashes and hitting the shuttlecock down, and he's playing a more defensive game. And I know his style was always quite defensive. For that style to work, you need to be more physical and more consistent and even quicker than your opponent, but at the moment he just isn't that. Everyone in the circuit has improved compared to their 2019 self. So not only does Momota have to climb back to his former self, he has to face better versions of opponents that he used to be able to play against. I was watching a game recently of Momota against Victor Axelsen, and obviously Momota has a much better winning record over Axelsen. Victor Axelsen has improved so much in the last 3-4 years. I just don't think that Momota poses much of a threat to beat Victor Axelsen. He doesn't have that aggressive style that Victor Axelsen could struggle against. Victor Axelsen's defense is so good, and not only that, but his attack is even better. I don't think Momota can rely on playing that defensive sort of style that he likes against someone like Victor Axelsen, who has a much better smash. And Momota just isn't going to be able to get back every single shot that he plays. Not only does Victor Axelsen have a great smash, but look at Low Kien Yu, Lee Zijia, even Lakshya Sen, who have really good smashes. And playing that defensive style just isn't going to work against these top men's singles players. You need to have something else. And whether that's consistency, speed, movement, and power that Lee Zijia has, for example, you need to have that even better than they do, which is ridiculously hard to have. And Momota just doesn't have that at the moment. Another key thing I've noticed is Momota's footwork just isn't as good as it was before. He's much more flat-footed, and instead of pushing off his toes, he's pushing off with his whole foot. Watch any of his previous games before his accident, and you can visibly see him bounce in his step, whereas it now seems like his footwork is quite heavy. It looks like he's relying on his quads more than his calves to push off. Losing to Rasmus Gemke in the first round of the tournament just isn't the first time that he's been knocked out in the first round or two in tournaments this year, or since his return. He's lost many games which really he should be beating, and other players in the top 5 in men's singles would be beating and advancing in the tournament. Now and again we do see glimpses of Kento Momota's success, where he plays some really nice attacking shots and follows up the net and does some really good stuff, especially with his net shots and some of his slices that he does. But we just don't see that enough. In my opinion, Momota is just too passive. If you look at the game versus Gemke here, There is times at the end of this game where Momota has Gemke in the like back corners of the court and in positions where he should be winning the points from. Gemke is just playing a soft shot to the net, and still Momota just cannot seem to win the point off this. Whereas someone like Victor Axelsen would just be coming into the net and winning this point 9 out of 10 of the times. And I think that's the difference. Kento Momota just doesn't have that killer shot which can win him the point and therefore win him games. At the end of the game too, it just looks like he's defeated. Gemke's playing smashes from right at the back of the court and it's just getting through Momota. His backhand defense is something that he's quite struggling with. I think he ended up losing like 8 points in a row. And that's something that Kento Momota always had for him. He was usually always really good at being able to come back and win games, which he was losing. Whether or not he was injured in this game or something by the end of it, I'm not sure. But it wouldn't surprise me that much if we did see him in like a year or two start winning a lot of big tournaments and even competing and giving really good games to some of the best players in men's singles. I mean, when you play against Kento Momota, it's never going to be easy, even though the form that he's in at the moment isn't the best. You know, with Momota saying that you would do much more to practice and get better for future tournaments, I really hope we get to see that. Because honestly, I think we all want to see Momota back to where he was before and challenging Victor Axelsen again like he used to be able to. At the moment, men's singles just isn't quite as fun to watch with Victor Axelsen being so dominant. But then Victor Axelsen just looks like he's in a different league at the moment. And that's something else that's also really good. He's almost in the conversation of like the Chenlongs, the Li Chongweis and the Lin Dans of the world, especially if he keeps it up into the next Olympics. But whether or not Kento Momota can do it or not, honestly, I'm not too sure. He's 27 now, which isn't that old for a men's singles player. But I don't know how much that accident has affected him. I don't think he'd be able to get into like the top 2, top 3 men's singles players in the world, let alone get back to the number 1 where he was before. I think it's a bit sad really, especially when you see him losing in these first rounds, considering how he was, and even looking at his like body language now. You can tell he's just not quite the same player, and I'm sure that he's training like crazy to be able to get back to that level. You can see how much it means to him and how much he enjoys playing. Just the fact that he's even come back from the accident that he's had and wants to be able to compete again at the top level just shows what a player he is. It wouldn't surprise me that much if we did see him in like a year or two start winning a lot of big tournaments and even competing and giving really good games to some of the best players in men's singles. I mean, when you play against Kento Momota, it's never going to be easy, even though the form that he's in at the moment isn't the best. I know the competition has got better since he stopped playing, but whether or not it's that much better where he can't even reach the semi-finals and finals of tournaments that he used to be able to get quite comfortably in, who knows? I mean, what do you guys think anyway? Do you think that Kento Momota will be able to get back to his former glory and start competing again for men's singles titles? I hope we get to see that, to be honest, but let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.